agree to be together, because
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But, I kind of wanted to go back a little bit in
Mm-hmm.
regards to you saying that you have dated people who weren't of faith. So to talk about that a little bit more, when you were dating someone who wasn't of faith, like when you guys first kind of met each other, did you feel like you had to go through this stage where you kind of like had to confess to them, like, hey, like, by the way, my faith is important to me? And then if you did have to do that, did you notice kind of like a shift in the way the person treated you or viewed you?
Yeah. So going back to that one ex-boyfriend, I don't think I initially said that at first, but down the line I said, it's Sunday, I'm getting ready to go to church or whatever. He's like, oh, you go to church? And I'm like, yeah, like I love God. I love Jesus. So he was like, oh, so you little like started making fun of me. Oh, so you little church girl now? I'm like, what? Like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, I'm
Right.
going to church to worship with my family. And he didn't like treat me differently, but he made it really clear that like I'm not down with that. Don't talk to me about that stuff. It's nice that you're going ahead and do that, but like that's not for me.
Wow.
So I mean he was pretty upfront, but it was like this kind of tense thing. And I told myself, I'm gonna change his mind.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change his mind.
And why do we do that as women?
Because we think we're fixers. We think we're mechanics. That's what we think that we are.
Jesus, take the wheel. Why do we
I'm
do
a
that?
mechanic,
We
that's
all
why.
do it.
Yeah.
Girl, I mean, I'm really sorry that that happened to you, because it's like you would think you told the man you were into cocaine. You you would think you told the man
Right.
cocaine. He said, I'm
Right.
not with that. Don't talk to me about that.
Right.
Come on.
Because you know what, Z? I think like sometimes, this is not the case all the time, but I think sometimes when you tell somebody that, it makes them feel like I have to do something different. And I'm not ready to do something different. So keep that over there and stay away from me. I think that was the case for him because he was obviously, doing stuff that obviously was not
Yeah,
righteous or
right.
like Jesus at all. And I think he just wasn't trying to make a change in his life at any point.
Wow. Yeah, that was a gem right there. Ultimately, because I feel like it went over some people's heads. But Shauna just said ultimately the reason why some people react harshly to someone, who is of faith is because it forces them to analyze themselves, what they're doing, and what they're not ready to change. And we all know as human beings, we do not, most of us do not like change. We don't.
Yeah.
And when we see somebody who's doing something that we know is right and that ultimately we know we should be doing, we sometimes people get mad.
Yeah.
People get mad. They're like, oh, so like you think you're better than me?
And nobody said that. Nobody said that. It's your insecurity talking. Nobody said you wasn't good enough. I didn't even say you needed to do anything. But yeah, I think he just was not wanting to go down that road in any sense.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's also because people know they should do it, but they're not ready for it. Like they want to, like their heart is kind of like, looking that way or yearning for that, but there's still like something is holding them back. So that also can, just be a factor as well. So yeah, that was definitely a gem that you shared. A statistic I want to share is that, believe it or not, women are more likely than men to say religion is very important in their lives. 60% of women, in fact, as compared to 40% of men. With that being said, I kind of wanted to twist it to my next question, which Shauna knows I had a hard time phrasing. I had a hard time. So excuse me if I read from my notes, okay? So, in your opinion, do you find men of faith are much more flexible when it comes to the women they date and how they meet women, as compared to women of faith? Specifically, do you think men are less rigid with their standards on the types of women they will date and how they meet them? And do you think this lack of being as fixed in their standards comes with them knowing they, as men, aren't being judged as harshly as women of faith? I know that was lengthy. If you need me to repeat it, let me know.
I think I got it for the most part. But that's a question. That's a question right there. I know I've been saying this a lot. I think it really does depend on the person. I think for some Christian men that I know, they're pretty flexible. You know, they're willing to try different things out. They're willing to not stick to their own, like, I only date Black women. I only date, like, they're willing to kind of branch out and try new things. Whereas I do know some people that are believers of God that do have very rigid standards that are unrealistic. And it's just like, what woman are you going to find to do all of that? And what are you doing?
In 20
meet me halfway.
What do you bring to the table?
Right.
Okay?
Right. Now that's the thing right there. What do you actually bring to the table? Not that this needs to be some transaction, but it's just like, I know who I am. I know what I bring, and I need you to be my equal. I need you to meet me halfway, because I'm not just going to be dishing and you just taking and taking.
Right. Girl.
So,
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's complicated. I think it varies. Some people I know that are really flexible and willing to try new things, and others that have standards that I just don't know who you're going to meet to be that for you.
Yeah, girl. I mean, I think especially in the Black community, you know, because we are Black, and I know y'all sick of hearing me say Black people this, Black people that, but we Black. So I'm going to talk about it from a Black lens.
Right.
So in the Black community, I feel like we grow up with mothers who are religious, who are in the church. We see that coming from them. But you don't really see that as much from Black fathers, unfortunately. And then also, to take it a step further, it's like, as women in the church, I feel like there's this extra pressure on you guys to be perfect. I feel like, and I'm not a woman of faith, so that is just my outside perception. I could be projecting. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, in the comments, and Shana. But I do feel like more is expected of you as compared to your male counterparts. I don't feel like men would be as rigid. Like, I think they will be, I don't think for most men it will be a non-negotiable for them to date a woman who is of faith, or how he meets the woman. But that, like I said, that's just something I've thought about. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. You know, that's a good comment. The disparity of men versus women in the church is evident.
Yeah, it is.
There's definitely way more women than men. So it can kind of feel like it's the jungle out here. Get it how you can get it, because you might not get one. And I think the whole component of being a Black woman is an interesting dynamic as well. Because I think, like, no church is perfect. First of all, no church is perfect because there are imperfect people in it. But I do think that there are other pressures too, when it comes to, like, colorism or just kind of standards about Black women that I'm like, you came from a Black woman, girl. You talking like, you know what I mean? Like, when it comes to hair, when it comes to how we talk, how we act, how we are, and I'm like, this lack of appreciation can be unsettling.
It can be very unsettling and taxing. And I'm sorry, because I live in the hood, so y'all might hear that metro booming.
It's okay.
But yeah, like it is taxing, and I just feel like when we live in such a patriarchal